Hi, this is Dan Munn with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. I often have a lot of clients ask me, what should I do and what should I not do before listing my home for sale? So almost all of my sellers ask me, whether it's in the initial discussions or later on when I'm on a listing appointment, what should I do and what should I not do before I put my home on the market? And it's completely understandable why there's so much confusion with this topic, because some realtors suggest wildly different things. Some realtors suggest doing nothing and just throwing it on the market no matter how it is. And some realtors suggest doing everything from staging to decluttering to repainting to redoing the backyard and changing the curb appeal. So I definitely understand why there's a lot of confusion and uncertainty about this topic. And although I'd love to give a very simple answer, a clear yes or no answer here, really my answer is that it depends. Don't you love that answer? It just depends on a lot of factors. So what does it depend on? This is really why you should be hiring a good agent with a lot of experience who has a strong track record, because all of these factors will determine what you should do and what you shouldn't do before you list your home for sale. So the number one factor is the market conditions. In a strong seller's market, you don't really need to do much. If there's no inventory and no competition, you could price your home reasonably and it would sell no matter what condition it was in. This was pretty much the case for the last 3 or 4 years in the Las Vegas market up until the last year. Towards the end of 2018 is when we started to see a change with this. And myself personally noticed with my listings, even the ones that were priced well, if there were other listings that were in better condition, they were selling much faster, whereas this was not necessarily the case a few years ago. So one is the market conditions. Two is the price point. In the average price point, you don't really need to do a whole lot to sell a house, whereas in the higher price points, the condition of the house becomes more and more of a factor in that higher price point range. Really, in our market, that's around $400,000 up. The condition becomes more and more senior the higher in price you go. So the third thing is the selling standards of the neighborhood. You could have, it doesn't really matter the price point, but more the selling standards of the neighborhood. If everyone in the neighborhood has granite countertops and you have tile countertops, that will significantly hurt you when it comes to the sale. That's what we call an under-improved property. So it also depends on what properties are like around you. If all of them are renovated and cleaned up and looking good before they sell, you might need to do that even though other factors might dictate otherwise. So we have market conditions, the price point, the saleability of the neighborhood and the selling standards of the neighborhood. And then the last thing, probably the most important thing, would be what resources does the seller have? Do you have the money to make the changes? Are you a contractor? Are you a handyman? Do you have experience changing these things? If you don't have the resources to do anything, then you just have to use whatever strategy is available. You'd have to price a home reasonably, ask for your realtor's input, and take that approach. So that's that. As far as what should you do, this is a really important topic. If you have limited resources, what should you do to get your home ready for sale? So here's my personal list, not to say this is right or wrong, but I'll start with the least expensive, basically free, ranging up to some of the more expensive things. And I think these are the most effective things that you could do to get a home ready for sale. One is declutter. This is the most important. The more personal items you can remove, get out of the main living areas, the better. Doesn't really cost you anything to do that. So that's absolutely the number one suggestion, is declutter as much as possible to the point where it almost looks bare to you as a seller. That's the ideal selling condition for a buyer who's looking at properties. The number two thing is to paint. This is generally very inexpensive. Most people don't realize how cheap repainting is compared to other things that they do to their house. Repainting an entire interior of a house can cost $2,000, and it dramatically changes the perception of the interior of the house. Really what you'll see is that first impressions are really important, and painting can go a long way with that. So declutter, paint. Number three would be curb appeal. Speaking of first impressions, any way you can make that first look at the house as good as possible. If you can just clean up that front yard, maybe throw a few plants in there if it's not too difficult. And then the number four thing would be smells. If you have any smells in your house, if you have pets, if you smoke cigarettes, this is something that's actually pretty easy to get rid of. You might want to do some research into that, but if you can get rid of those things, it will definitely help you. Those are just some inexpensive fixes that go a really long way when it comes to selling a house. Hopefully that's helpful for you. My information's below. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Thanks.